right, everybody. One sec. Let me get recording. Good. There we go. All right, everybody. On behalf of Trident Title, Performance Title, and Synergy Title, we want to welcome you guys to the truth behind lead conversion. This has been something that I've been hearing a lot about lately. People have been using a lot of the different trainings that we've been doing to generate leads, whether it be on our app for Trident Performance or Synergy, whether it be through social media or internet leads, or working some of the database stuff we've been giving you, or circle prospecting or expireds or whatever it may be. People are generating a lot of leads, and I hear pretty often, oh, either the leads aren't good, or it's too much work, or I don't know what to do when they don't answer. So I wanted to put this together for you guys and make sure we just have a plan, because I think that's one of the most important things that you can do. And right now, one of the things we're noticing all across real estate is it seems like either people are busier than they've ever been, or they're slower than they've ever been. It doesn't seem like anyone's kind of holding average. So over the last year or so, the business has taken some crazy turns and some crazy changes. So the busy got busier, and it seems like the slow got slower. But one thing that seems to keep coming across our desk here, that we keep hearing, is that the leads are out there, right? People are raising their hand and saying they want to buy or sell, but we're not always converting them at the highest level. So I wanted to talk about the plan today on what it actually takes to get some leads closed. So just did a little intro. We'll talk about the about. We're going to go over the numbers, because I think getting real and understanding your numbers is really the only way that you can move forward. Whatever your business may be, whether it's mortgage, whether it's title, whether it's being a real estate agent, whether it's being Amazon, you have to know where your numbers are before you can move forward, because that gives you a real time kind of analysis of where we're at. So we're going to share with you some of the real numbers behind lead conversion, just so you don't get disappointed if you might not be where you want to be. You'll see what other people are kind of averaging. We're going to talk about the plan, which I've broken into 6 C's, like the letter C, and then we will do a quick summary. So most of you guys by now I know, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on an intro, but my name's Ryan McHugh. I work with Trident Performance and Synergy to help our agents grow their business. And we have a bunch of our amazing reps on the call. So we have Dave Ward, Gab Bryce, Melissa Kidwell, Tracy Cinder. So if you guys need anything in the title world, if you need some quotes, if you need some help getting some deals closed, we have the best closers in the business and the best people out here to help you get everything set up. So thank you all, as always, and thank you for continuing to push and send us deals. There's a couple people on this call that we got deals in from just last week. So I thanked some of you guys before, but I surely want to do that again. I know I saw deals come through from Monty, from Elizabeth, from Karen, from Lisa. So thank you guys all for constantly helping out. And whoever the mystery man dash woman may be on the call, if you've sent us a deal, we appreciate you as well. All right, so let's dive in. First, let's talk about the numbers. Like I said, I think it's time to get real. You know, one of the things that people hear when they think about leads is either people say, oh, the leads suck, or the leads are bad, or the leads are garbage. That's a common thing I hear. Or if they're on the database side of things, they say, oh, I go on, I get 100% of the leads that I get, I convert. And neither of those are true, obviously. The answers kind of lie somewhere in the middle. But I think it's good for you to be realistic about what you're looking at when we talk about lead conversion, because a lot of times agents will dive into a new lead source, and whether that be free or whether it costs them money, they invest something. They either invest a lot of their time or they invest a lot of their money. And either one of those things, whatever they're doing, just like any business, when we invest in something or someone, we want to make sure that we see some kind of a return. And I want you to think that same way when we're talking about leads. So I know a lot of people on this call use just their database, or maybe they do open houses, or they do some cold calling. And I know there's a lot of people on this call that spend money, right? But I want you to just be realistic with what those numbers are. So let's talk about those, and then we're going to dive in the rest of the time just about a plan to help you guys convert more leads. So these are the averages for lead conversion across the 4 major areas that people focus on in real estate. So I'm going to touch on each one of them and tell you why they're maybe good or bad, or what you think. So direct mail, the average direct mail campaign converts at 0.1%, meaning 0.1%, through a total of 2%. So direct mail is something that can be kind of a shotgun blast approach. And a lot of brokerages, a lot of companies, they really push that. And if that's something that you're into doing, that's okay. But I just want you to be realistic, because I hear people say all the time, well, I just got a new listing. I'm just going to send a mailer, and they spend a couple $100 really quickly and they don't get something. And then they say that mailers don't work. Well, something like direct mail is a long-term plan where you're looking about 18 months to really see a good return on investment. So when we dive into direct mail and we know that across the average, the conversion might only be 0.1%. So you might have to send out, if you sent out 100, just say you sent out 100 postcards, you're not even really giving yourself an at bat of getting a deal. We can always get lucky. And with a small sample size, it could go really good. And we could get 1 or 2 calls, 1 or 2 listings out of that. Or it could go bad with such a small sample size and we could get nothing over and over and over again. And then we're stuck there kind of spending money on that. So just think of that. Direct mail, when it's really working well, it's only converting about 2%. And when it's converting well, what that means is people are targeting their direct mail, not just sending an EDDM like the whole postal route. They're targeting, maybe they're targeting absentee owners, which we talked about on our call a couple weeks ago. Maybe they are targeting everyone that they've ran a seller net sheet quote for through our app. And that you're going to see higher returns because these are people that have already raised their hand and said that they want to sell. When we're just blasting out a bunch of mail and hoping for the best, might not be the most cost-effective way to do business. So just keep that in mind. Cold calls. The average conversion for cold calls is between 0.5% and 4%. So 0.5% and 4%. Depends on who you ask, what survey place you look at, what realtors you look at, but between 0.5% and 4%. So when someone says, oh, I tried cold calling, I worked Wednesday morning for an hour and a half and I made 36 calls. If you make 36 calls, that's great. It's better than making none, right? But when we think of 4% of 36, that barely even exists, right? We're not really giving ourselves an at bat to even get one. So I want you to think, if we're talking about cold calls, just be real with the numbers. And if cold calling is your strategy, Dave Ward and I are working with someone who's kind of building some cold calling into his lead gen. And one of the things that we noticed that he was doing is his normal number of calls per week was about 50. So he would say, okay, I'm going to try to make 10 calls a day or 10 contacts a day. And at the end of the week, week after week after week after week, he would hit 50, but he would never get anywhere. And we would look at that and say, okay, we're really just not doing enough volume. He would add a couple people to the database and maybe get some feelers out there, but wasn't really giving himself even an at bat to be able to convert one with numbers like that. So then we go to internet leads. This is probably the most popular one right now that people complain about. These are your Facebook leads. These are your Google pay-per-click leads. These could be your Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Apartments.com, all those kind of ones. Anything you're paying for on social, maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's Snapchat, maybe it's YouTube, anything that you're paying for over the internet. Could even be your classified ads, your Craigslist. It could be your marketplace, any of those kind of ads. We're looking at between 0.5% and 5%. And the top of that scale, the 5%, is usually higher dollar Google pay-per-click ads because we're further down the funnel with people that are searching. So when we're talking about internet leads, a lot of people wanted to add that to their strategy this year. And we've been helping people with that. We have a great product called Walled Garden that allows you to connect through us to Facebook and run Facebook ads pretty cheap, pretty quickly, and easily with just a couple of clicks. Even people that are using that, at a high level, we're still really only seeing a conversion like 1%, 2%. So I just want you to be real with that. And then database is usually where we see the highest return. These are your warm referrals. It could be the people you've met at open houses. It could be past clients that you've talked to that have referred you to someone else, maybe your friends, your family, a flipper, an investor, somebody that that already knows you, likes you, and trusts you. On the low end, with people not really making an effort, you might see 1% conversion. But on the high end of that, you're seeing about 1 in every 6 people in a well-oiled machine of a database convert, which is about 17%. So as you guys are looking at this year, and I know it's February 1st already, which is really insane that we're that far into the year already, but as you're looking at what you're going to add to your business this year, I just want you to make sure you're real with yourself on these numbers. And if you're not there yet, or you're feeling depressed or down on yourself looking at numbers, just kind of compare it to this slide or this image and realize that you're probably not doing as bad as you think you are. And the rest of the way here today, we're just going to talk about how to get you better at that. So what exactly does it take to convert leads? So I came up with a plan, a 6-piece plan that we're actually going to add. I'm going to give you a 7th, a bonus at the end. But all that start with the letter C that are going to help you kind of do this. So if you're taking notes and you want to jot these down, you can, or if not, as always, we'll have a recording for you after this. And if you reach out to Melissa, Dave, Gab, Tracy, or myself after the call, we can get it for you. But what I want to dive into is what exactly it takes, because I think it is important. If you want to close more deals this year, we need to help you convert. And we know if we help you convert, you guys will be sending us deals at Trident, Synergy, and Performance. So let's talk about a 6-step plan here that we are going to work to make this work. Here are the 6 C's. Number 1, create. We're going to dive into each one of these a little bit more in depth. But number 1, create. Number 2, capture. Number 3, connect. Number 4, cultivate. Number 5, convert. And then number 6, which almost floats on all of these, is close. And we'll talk about the bonus one at the end. But when we talk about what we are going to create, what I want you to think first is it's time to generate leads. So if you're not generating leads right now at all or at a very small level, today's the day we have to flip that switch on. And whenever I talk to realtors, whether it be one-on-one, coaching and training that we do, or it's big groups like this, or in any of the offices that I work in or see you guys in regularly, or even just when I'm out, I find that, 85% of my friends are realtors. So we always end up talking about real estate stuff anyway. When it really boils down to whatever issue they're having, it's usually they have a lead generation problem and nothing else. So when you look at the agent that has a really tough client, someone that just isn't treating them good, isn't nice, is very hard to work with, maybe they're disrespectful, or we just don't like being around that person. We may have a problem with that client, but it still dials back to having a lead generation problem, because if we had enough leads, we could just fire that person, right? When we look at needing leverage, so maybe we're busy, we need help, but we're right at that point where we really can't afford, to add a person to our business or a tool or a system to our business because of the money. And we look back and still we have a lead generation problem, because if we had more leads that we could close, all those problems kind of go away. So most things boil down to number 1, and conversion really boils down to number 1. We can't convert more leads if we don't have more leads. So number 1 for create, it's time to generate leads. I want you to think about a couple different things. Number 1 is paid versus free. So some of us on this call, I know, have been in the business for a while, and maybe we have a nice big chunk of a budget that we can spend. And I know there's some names that I see on here that started in the business in the last 6 months, and maybe don't have the biggest budget. So whether you're going paid versus free, it doesn't matter. But what I always try to tell agents is you need to come up with a plan or work with us with a plan. And if you want to do a one-on-one with this is one thing I really like to do, is you need to come up with a plan that generates you at least like a minimum of 100 leads per month. And if you look back at any of those conversion rates we just talked about a minute ago, if you got 100 leads per month at 1%, so at the lower end of these conversion rates, you would still be able to grab a deal every single month. So when we're creating, we need to come up with a plan, whether it's paid, whether it's free, or a combination of both, that gives us or brings us in 100 leads per month. So some ways we could do that paid are social media ads. It could be Google ads. As much as I don't want to say it, it could be the portals, the Zillow, the Trulia, the Realtor.com. We could be paying to turn on our faucet. Some of the free activities, we've talked about these, a lot, but it could be expireds, it could be FSBOs, it could be open houses, it could still be social media, right? It could be building off that, might be door knocking, cold calling, whatever it is. We just have to have a plan that gets us to 100. The second piece is, are we prospecting or are we marketing? And when we talk about a prospecting based business, this is a business that we're putting the boots on, we're going to work, and we're being aggressive every day. We're going out there every day to try to generate new leads and generate appointments. And these are the activities where we do something and we can get a result today. So if I went on a door knocking spree today, I could go knock on a door and I could potentially get an appointment today. If I called an expired this morning, I could call that expired and I could get an appointment today. So these are prospecting activities that could yield a result today. When we talk about marketing, usually what we're doing, not always, but usually what we're doing is we're hoping that we do something out there in the world and the leads kind of come to us. It's more passive. So a marketing example might be a flyer. It might be a postcard, something in direct mail, right? If I come up with a direct mail piece today, there's no way I can get a lead today. It's impossible, right? Because by the time it gets designed, printed, created, sent out, people look at it and then have a chance to get back to me. Minimum, I mean, if we're flying here, it's 4 or 5 days. But realistically, it's even more than that, right? And if I put out a marketing post on social media, or maybe I pay to sponsor an event, these are not usually things that are coming back to us today. They're more passive, building a brand kind of for the long term. But we need to think about that. Third button here, or the third little spot here, is content. When we're creating our content, are we doing it consistently and in a way that can generate leads? So some of the people that we're working with, we are working on helping them create some local content that when people are finding the area that they are in, it's making them call them. So an example might be the top 10 things to do for free on the weekend in whatever city you're in, or whatever city you're farming, or the local historic section of town best deals, where you create content about the 10 coolest historic houses that are available right now in, I don't know, let's say West Palm Beach, something like that. And when we're generating all these leads, is there a clear call to action on all of these? So in order to be able to convert more leads, we got to give ourselves an at bat. I can't tell you guys how many Facebook posts a day I see, or ads from some people even that come on our calls, that they'll post something great, but there's no call to action. So they'll be, check out this new listing I took. It's a 3-2 on the lake with the pool with the redone kitchen for $499, and that's it. And they don't say call me for a tour, text me to get more information, email me to set up a showing. Like, it's great that you're putting that out there and getting more eyeballs on it, but if there's no call to action that can lead in you getting an appointment, there's really nothing there to convert. You don't even have an opportunity to convert. So when we're talking about the first C here in this whole big game of converting leads, the most important thing that we can do is create. We need to create paid or free marketing. We need to create prospecting-based activities or marketing-based activities. We need to create content, and we need to create a call to action. So that's step one of our plan. Step number 2 is going to be capture. This is another spot that kind of leads off that call to action. It ties right in. So that's why I put the call to action last on the first one. But when we think of what we're doing to capture, I would really love to know, and maybe some of you guys can throw some examples in the chat. I'll give it a second here. Give me like one example from a couple people of things that you do to actually capture information. Just type them in the chat, throw some in there. What is something that you do to capture information from a lead? I'll give it a minute and I'll read some out. Facebook lead form, good. So if we're doing Facebook ads, it pretty much automatically does that for us. So we can capture information through a Facebook lead form. Good, Carly. What else? 36 of you on the call, and Carly is the only one playing along with me. Come on, guys. What's something else we could do to capture a lead? Landing page, good. I'm going to block Carly from answering in a second. Come on, somebody else. Squeeze page, good. Same answer. Good job, Charles. What else? Give me another one. We're thinking of some easy. We're missing some very, very easy ones. Immediate response. We're going to talk about timeliness in a second. What's something else we could do to capture a lead? Come on, we're missing some easy ones. How can we capture information? Monthly neighborhood info. Okay, good. But specifically, how are we going to capture? These are good ad ideas. So what you guys are putting out there, monthly neighborhood info, great. That's great for number 1, the content piece, the create. Down payment assistance, again, great. Give me one other spot that you should be able to capture information all the time. Talk to the neighbor, good. We're missing like one really easy one that no one's saying. It rhymes with Schmopen-Faust. If we did something that rhymed with a Schmopen-Faust, what could we do to open house? Good, nice. What could we do to capture leads at an open house? Come on, easiest of the easy. I'm keeping you guys awake today, whether you like it or not. How about just a lead capture form at an open house, right? It might be a landing page. It might be a sign-in sheet. Anything that actually helps us get information. We need to think of every piece of marketing that we do, everything that we get out there. What are we doing that's going to give us a chance to actually capture the leads? So next to our phone, if we work in an office, or if we work at, even if it's an office in our home, do we have something next to us that is our lead capture form? Where when someone calls and they say, hey, I'm calling about 123 Main Street, do we have a form, whether it's written out on paper, if you like that, or on an iPad or on your desktop, that when that person calls, you can capture their information and say, great, I'm so excited that you called about 123 Main Street. What was it that caught your eye about that house? Oh, I really love the area. Awesome. And is that the price point you're looking to be in? Well, I'm not sure. What's that price point? Well, let me look that up for you. While I am checking that out, what's the best email for you, just in case we get disconnected here? Because you have their phone number already, right? If they called you. So we have to be thinking all the time, what are we doing to capture? A lot of people are not capturing information at a high level, which obviously hurts your conversion. If you don't have good enough information, it's very, very difficult to be able to convert. So let's talk about the how first. That's what we just did. where are we going to capture them? So we kind of did that in the chat, but let's think about this. So some key spots for capture. Social media is always a good one. Carly said Facebook lead form. So if you're paying to play on Facebook, that's one. But what's another really simple way to capture information on Facebook? Think if you made a Facebook post. If any of you needed a good laugh, I did a funny post about a video about GameStop the other day. And if I looked at that, one of the things I was able to click on is who viewed it, who commented, who liked it. And when I saw all that, we had, I don't know, 500 or 600 views, like 100 comments, all these responses and stuff. And that's great. But if I wanted to capture information off that, I could literally look at my post and click on those people one at a time and say, okay, I made a post and this 100 and whatever, 20 people commented on it. And you obviously know who they are because it says Joe Smith commented, Steve Smith commented, Betty Smith commented, and I can go on there and I can capture their information right off there. So social is easy to capture, right? We either getting lead forms if we're running ads, or we have the ability to see who engaged if we're doing that. We talked about open houses, right? If we're not capturing information at open houses, we shouldn't even be wasting our time doing open houses. That's going to be a big piece of conversion for us. When we're door knocking, pretty simple, right? If we're knocking on the door, we obviously know the address because we know what street we're on. And if they introduce themselves or we ask them for their name, we capture a name right away. So we at least get name and address instantly. And then in our pitch or our presentation, or if we're talking, we're going to ask for phone number and email. So those are some of the wheres. And the when is always, anytime that you can possibly capture and grab business. We always obviously want to get the business, but we need to really be working on that capture piece. And when I do some one-on-ones with you guys, one of the things I see a lot of is you might have, I forget who I did the other day that had 1,100, I think it was like 1,160 people in their database. And when we looked through them, only like 50 of them had a phone number and maybe 60, 70% of them had emails, and that was it. So we captured something, but then we have to play offense and go out there and make sure we capture some more information so that we can convert. Because if we're going to get successfully to the end here, we need to create a platform to be able to bring in at least 100 leads a month. And then we need to capture information so we can follow up, right? If we can't follow up, it's very rare that we're going to nail an appointment or a sale on the first call or the first touch. It's this industry that we're in is not like that, right? It's not really a heavy phone sales thing. It's really not something like a McDonald's where, you know, you can, in theory, you could do business at McDonald's every day. Not the same for real estate. All right, let's talk about connect. Number 3, how do we connect? Number 1, someone said this in the chat before, I think it was Karen Lawrence, is quickly, right? We have to connect quickly. Speed to lead. We always used to say on our team, speed to lead is kind of the name of the game. Within 5 minutes. If you couldn't answer within 5 minutes, the round robin or the lead kicked in and it went to somebody else. Because most of the time, and I'm sure we're all victims of this at some point in our life, most of the time we're a generation or a group of people that want instant gratification. So think of the client that's looking at Zillow, or they're looking at your website, or they're looking at your social media, and they see a great picture or a house that they like, or maybe a floor plan or whatever your marketing piece was, they see that. So you created the lead and you've captured them. You've gotten some kind of information from them, and then they call you, which is like the best thing that could happen in real estate, right? They call you or they reach out to you. We're always trying to figure out how we can make our phone ring. But if we don't get back to them quickly or at all, for some of us, right, we just lost that. So think quickly. If you're going to be doing this, you need to make the plan on how you can respond to people quickly. So obviously, if the phone rings, pick it up if you can. If not, you should set a couple of callback times throughout your day where you can make sure you get back to people. So maybe you have a morning block, a lunchtime block, and a before you sign off or sign out for the day kind of block where you make all your callbacks. And worst case scenario, a catch-all that's like once a day at the end of the day before you're done for the day, maybe your last hour, 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 or whatever your schedule is like, you get back to those people so they're at least not, you know, more than a day behind. Next is across all mediums. And what I mean by this is you need to try to get back to people. You need to try to connect with people. We're talking about connect here, number 3. You need to try to connect with people in every way possible. So sometimes you might get a lead that is the Facebook form and you call them right away and they don't answer, right? And then you call them later that day because you're really diligent and they still don't answer. And then you call them twice a day, every day for like the next week and they still don't answer. Some people are just not going to answer the phone, right? There's some people that if they see a number they don't know, they're just not answering the phone, period. No matter what, they don't care. They're not answering the phone. However, we need to think of all the different ways that we can attack them. So can we send them a text, right? If we know their phone number, we can send them a text. If it's bad or kicks back as a landline, whatever, at least we know that, but we can send them a text, right? We can send them an email. Some people will answer their email forever and they'll never answer a text or a call. If we got them on some form of social media, sometimes the best way to get back to them is the direct message through there. I have people all the time. Some of you are on this call, by the way. I'm not calling any names, but that will never answer a phone call, ever, absolutely ever. But if I Facebook message you in 1 second, I have a response. That's just how it goes sometimes. I get it. So we have to be able to attack people, across every medium. If we have to send a pigeon or a piece of direct mail or do a Facebook message or a call or a text or an email, we have to do that. We have to get out of our head that if we're going to actually convert more leads, it's all about calls. Because yes, it's nice to make a lot of calls, but we need to make a lot of other things too: messages, texts, emails, whatever. Ask questions. Are we asking good questions? Give me an example in the chat. Everyone punch one in. What's an example of a question you could ask a new lead? Just throw some out there. I want to share some of these. Everyone is going to have some different answers here, but throw something in the chat. What is a question that you could ask a new lead? So if I came as an inquiry on 123 Main Street, what's the first question you would ask me? Throw some in the chat. Let's see what we got. What's your time frame to buy? Good. Well, both of you had the same answer there. Good. Time frame. Good. So we're trying to learn their time frame. Good. What else? What's another one? Price point and budget. Good. So instead of saying, one of the top reasons that people lose people in conversion is price. So Beth just said price point and budget. And I want to make sure you guys get that, because one of the top reasons that we lose leads is because of price point. So let's say we advertise something and we don't put the price in it. So I used to be famous for advertising stuff with no price. And some people will get really pissed at that. They would call and they would ask what the price is. And then if you tell them that and it's not in their price range, they're instantly angry at you. But I'm a big believer in the quality is in the quantity. So if we get more leads, we get more at bats. And if we have more at bats, we have chances to ask more questions. And if we can ask more questions, we can probably convert. So when someone calls and they call in on your listing or maybe something you're advertising and they say, what's the price of that? And you say 300,000, if 300,000 isn't in their range, we lose them instantly. But if you counter back and you say, listen, I have so many properties right now that we're working, so let me look up that specific one for you. What's the price range that you think you're most comfortable in? Then right away, they're going to give you a number, whatever it is. They might say 1,500 a month. They might say 200,000 to 400,000. Who knows what the number is? It doesn't really matter. But if you ask them a good question, you keep them on the phone, you build that relationship. Terry, have you spoken to a lender? Good. So what we always used to say was we would always assume people are paying cash first. And what you'll get a lot of the times is either a really good laugh out of people, or they will think that you respect them a little bit more by saying, hey, Terry, I can definitely understand, that you are looking for a home in that 300,000 to 400,000 range. Now, are you paying cash for that? Or were you thinking about speaking to a lender? So by assuming that they're paying cash, you're kind of building them up inside. It's just like an emotional thing I got taught a long time ago that works really well. Why are they buying or selling? Love it. Motivation, right? So what is their motivation? What's the price point? The next one of the ones I have later on the slides here is find the needle. And that motivation, I always call it needling. It's a poker player thing where they always say you got to find what needles somebody. So what gets them going? What lets you poke the needle in? Are they trying to buy because they want to get to their kids in another state? Are they trying to sell because they want to cash out and retire? Whatever it is, if you get that motivation, you always have something for them. What are you thinking in terms of size or style? Good. So is there a certain square footage, a number of bedrooms? Is it a historic house, a condo, whatever it is? Awesome. Are you pre-approved? Good. We talked about that. Do you have kids? Love that one. So we can go right into that. Without directly saying something about schools, because sometimes we have to be careful about that, right? You can find out, do they have kids? Do they have pets? And that can start to kind of sculpt your search. Good. How do they know about your posting? Great point, Bismarck. Love that one. So how did they hear about you, or how did they find you? Good. So it lets you know what things are working. And Lisa, great. Love that too. What do you love, or what do you like about this home? So you can find out their buttons, right? Is it the kitchen? Is it the bathroom? Is it the garage? Is it the backyard? Whatever. Good. So all those questions that you ask, good job, guys, are helping you build rapport, right? They're helping you figure out that relation, helping you find that needle. What's that motivation that you can poke on them with later to be able to find out how we're going to close that deal. And ABC, if you've never seen that movie, is always be closing. So if you get to the point here where you ask a great question and you say, any of the things that you guys really just said, right? You threw out a lot of great questions there. But what's prompting your interest to buy? Great. So if you say, good one, Kendra. So if you say, what is prompting your interest to buy? And they say, well, I hear rates are really low. We have some equity in our house, and we're thinking about selling this one and moving up because it might be the same price point. We don't need to keep going with any more questions. We can just say, great, Kendra, that's exactly why we need to meet. Are you free today at 2 or tomorrow at 4? A lot of people get on this conversion thing where they feel like they have to check all the boxes. And maybe you don't know what they can afford yet. Maybe you don't know their credit yet, but who cares? Get them face to face or get them on Zoom. And when you do that, you can build a relationship. It's so much harder to build a relationship not being able to be in person or on a Zoom, where if you ask a killer question and you get a real answer from them, any of these questions that you guys asked, there's, I don't know, 15 of them in a row in the chat. If you ask one of these questions and they brush you off, ask another question. But if you ask one of these questions and they give you like a solid answer, what do you like about this home? Well, I really love how the kitchen granite flows and the pool looks like it has the best view. It does have the best view. That's exactly why we need to meet, because this home's going to be gone tomorrow. Because if you like the view, there's a great chance somebody else does. So are you available today at 2 or tomorrow at 4? Right? We're always closing. We don't need to just wait until step 6 to get this thing closed. Number 4, cultivate. In general, this is where we go wrong. Not just realtors, by the way, because on the title end of it, we're not always so great at that. We get yelled at for this every once in a while. On the mortgage end of it, I know we're all not that great at it, right? We want to attack the low-hanging fruit, the ones we can get a deal from today, the ones that are easy business that we know are just going to send us the stuff. I get it. We do it too, so I understand. But we have to think, if we want to convert more leads, what are we going to do to cultivate them at a high level? So number 1, what is your follow-up plan? How many of you can honestly tell me right now, if I asked to see your follow-up plan when this call is over, let's just say in 20 minutes, how many of you could legitimately send me a follow-up plan? If you could, say yes in the chat and be prepared, because then I'm going to ask you to send it. So if you could send me a follow-up plan that you have for any kind of lead, it doesn't matter. I don't care what kind of lead it is, but maybe an internet lead, maybe it's an open house lead. How many of you could legitimately send me a follow-up plan that you have for a lead within the next 25 minutes? I'll give it a minute. Say yes if you could. If you're thinking in your head, this is the time I get off the call, or this is wrong, or no way, I don't have this, this guy's crazy, then you should have an aha right now, right? This should be a moment where you're thinking, oh my God, if I don't have that, I got to build that. 1 so far, 1 out of, what do we have? 37. 2, awesome. 3, okay, so 3 out of 37. So what, 1%, right? That kind of ties into what we were talking about before. Or not 1%, 10%. I'll wing it. No, winging it is not a plan. I like it, but it's not a plan, right? Jason's on the call. He always says hope is not a hope is not a plan, or hope is not a strategy. That's totally this, right? So if you don't have a follow-up plan that's built in and ready to go, this is kind of where you stop for today, right? We stop at number 4 and say, okay, if I'm going to cultivate leads over a long period of time and really build a business, I have to think, what is my follow-up plan? And you should have one of these for all the lead sources that you work. So for instance, we used to have an internet lead follow-up plan that only applied to internet leads. If they came in from Craigslist, social ads, or Google ads, they got thrown on this plan. And it was the same plan for all of them. We called it the 10 days of pain. And in this 10 days of pain, the lead got attacked 21 times. So more than 2 times a day, every day for 10 days. So like day 1 would be like a call, a text, and an email. Day 2 is a call and a text. Day 3 is an email and a call, whatever it may be. We had that plan where you knew every single lead that came in, it was a plan. And over a certain period of time, you could look at that and say, okay, this plan worked, this plan didn't work. Maybe we make it 22 touches, maybe we make it 9 days, whatever it is, you have a plan that you can change and really sculpt to build around your business. So I want you to be able to think, do I have a follow-up plan? And if not, I'd love to see you guys write some of them out. And if you actually do it and send it to me, I will answer back or critique it or tell you what I would change or what I would fix if that is going to help you convert more leads. Next is it scalable? So I see a lot of realtors come up with a plan, and they will make a plan for when they're getting 1 lead a day. And that's really great if we get 1 lead a day. The problem is when we turn the faucet on and 1 lead a day turns into 3, does it still work? And 3 turns into 10 and 10 to 50. And a lot of us don't think that big right off the bat, because most of us, if you're on this call, you're probably not generating the number of leads you want, and that's okay. But there is going to be a day where if you crank this thing up, you're going to get more leads, right? And whatever number of leads that is, most likely the next step up is going to break your system. So when we were doing a lot of transactions, we had plans in place for 0 to 10 leads a month, or 0 to 10 deals a month. And when we get to like 11 or 12 deals, that plan that could support the system up to, whatever, 10 deals a month, it just fell apart. It would be miserable and it would break and people would quit and people would cry and it would be a long night and we'd have to pay people in sushi and whatever else to get them to redo a plan and come up with something and be able to build a better plan. So you need to be able to think of how does something scale. When we're working on converting leads, it's really easy to be able to do a pop buy if we have one lead, right? If we have one listing right now, if you just have one listing, you know you're going to get a paycheck in the next 45 days, by the way, so congrats. But if you just have one listing, it's very easy to say, well, once a week, I'm going to go over and bring that person lunch or do a pop buy or whatever. What if you had 100 listings? Is that scalable? You know, can we do that? Next is automation. What automation do you have built in? So every brokerage, whoever, whatever company you're at right now, it doesn't matter, but all of us have something that's helping you to automate some follow-up, whether it's sending you notifications, whether it's sending you out marketing pieces, whether it's creating those marketing pieces for you. What automation are you using in your follow-up to be able to actually help you convert, right? While we're on here talking about converting, what automation are we using? Is there something that we can do that we can send out automatically that's going to let us do more, right? That's going to let us scale this thing. And then the close, when we're talking about converting, if we've done all this stuff, we need to make sure at a certain point we're just closing them, right? Because there is a point where that lead that just sticks with us forever and never does anything does become a waste of time. And we're always going to follow up with them to some level, but at a certain point, we have to just close them. And if they're not ready, or they're not a buyer, or they're not a seller, or they're not a tenant, or they're not an investor today, it doesn't make them any less of a person or of a client, but we have to move on, right? We have to close and say, okay, if I just can't close this person, a great phrase that I heard a long time ago, the guy's name was Chris Hart, actually. He always used to say, some will, some won't, so what, next. Right? So some you'll be able to close them. Great. And some won't. Great. So what? Either way, we just need to move on, right? And just move on to whatever is next. So when we're talking about converting here, the big things that people need to convert. So we've talked about, let's just go back here through a couple just to make sure we're good. We've talked about creating, right? The need to create more leads. The goal is to create 100 a month per agent minimum. Number two, we've talked about capturing. So what are we doing to actually make sure we capture all of their information? Number three, connect. We've talked about what we need to do to actually connect with them across all different mediums quickly and in all different ways. Number four, cultivate. This is your follow-up, right? Maybe should have called it follow-up, but it didn't fit with my C. So we're calling it cultivate. Number five, when we're talking about actually converting, this is where skills come into play, okay? The other things we can do time on task, we can pay somebody else to do, but at the end of the day, when we get to number five here, converting, this is where our skills are more important than ever. And right now, I know some people are thinking in their head, oh, I don't even need skills in this market because it's just ridiculous. And to tell you the truth, you're not wrong. Right? For some of us, we're putting listings in the MLS. They're selling in 11 seconds over asking price with a whole bunch of offers. But we need to be working on our skills now more than ever because we know at some point this market's going to turn and maybe it flattens, maybe it nosedives, maybe it goes to the moon. Who really knows? But at some point it's going to change. And when it does change, skills are going to be more important than ever. So when we talk about skills, I really just want to talk about three things, the three dots under it there. Number one is scripts. So knowing what you're saying and saying it to enough people. If we don't have skills in the script department, at some point, the seller or the buyer or the client is going to outscript us, right? If they in their head don't want to buy or don't want to sell or aren't ready or want to use their family member or whatever other excuse they have, if we don't have something to help us there, if we don't have a script that we can learn off of, they're going to win. They're going to outscript us. Next is your presentation. So your presentation skills need to be better now than ever. There's more realtors now than ever. If you haven't noticed, Palm Beach County, I know we have people from all over, but Palm Beach County, over 40,000 agents. You have a driver's license, you pretty much have a real estate license in Palm Beach. So we have to think about that. How good are our presentations? Do we have something laid out for buyers, for sellers, for tenants, for investors that we could go put on a presentation, almost like a Shark Tank pitch? If you've never watched that show, it's fantastic, by the way, but think about your presentation. A lot of people go on that show, if you've ever really watched it, and they might not have the best product. They might not even have the best numbers, but they get a deal because they go up there with energy, with confidence, they present. And they want to win. So same thing with real estate. Our skills need to be increased in our presentation. We should be able to give a presentation a day, every day, comfortably at any price point, whether it's 50,000 or 50 million, because we have both of those in the markets that we work in, right? And our skills for closing for appointments. What are we saying to close? Are we asking the right questions to be able to turn somebody from a lead that we went through this whole process with into somebody that actually converts and puts money in our pocket? Because at the end of the day, let's be real, we're all doing this for money, right? This is a for-profit business for all of us, whether we're in title, mortgage, real estate, or whatever else you're in on this call, selling shampoo, whatever it may be. We have to be able to close, right? And we need scripts for that. We need presentations for that. We need skills for that. And they need to increase when there's so many other people in the marketplace. If you guys haven't noticed throughout this whole pandemic, everybody's become a couple things. Number one, a realtor. Number two, a financial advisor. And number three, a marketing rep for something along the lines of shampoo or fingernails. If you guys have seen the fingernails things, right? The people that are killing the fingernail game, it's not because they have better fingernails, and I can't believe we're talking about this, but the nail bar thing, the people that are killing it at that, they're talking to more people, they have a great script, they're doing a great presentation, and they're closing. That's it. And they're just doing it more and more. So we have to take this into our real estate business and understand that although we might be riding the wave right now, and some of us might be, eating more than we've ever eaten before, we have to be able to increase our skills. If we really want to convert, we need to get better at scripts, we need to get better at presentations, and we need to get better at closing. So when things shift or things change, we're there and ready. And number 6, close. We've been talking about this through the whole time, but we need to really make sure we're closing not only for the appointment, but when we actually get the appointment, then we're closing for the deal. We don't just want to be glorified taxi drivers. If that's the case, go drive for Uber. We don't want to just drive people around, not selling anything. And we don't want to just drive around looking at all these listings without ever doing a deal. So how do you do this throughout the whole process is one question that you have to ask yourself. What are you doing throughout the entire process that we just talked about that's helping you close? Is there a call to action on your lead generation? Is there a call to action on your marketing? When you talk to someone, are you asking them a question that could end in a yes? So are you saying to them, hey, great, that's exactly why we need to meet. Are you available today at 2 or 4? If you're not asking that question, there's no chance they're not just randomly showing up at 2 or 4, right? We need to be closing throughout the whole process to get them to that appointment. And one of the things you want to remember is that no matter what, you're always making a memorable experience. The thing is that experience is either really great and really grand, or it's really, really terrible. And if you want to learn about this, there's a lot of great books about Disney and customer experience and things that they do. They study everything. They look at everything, right? There's a really interesting study about when they give people free candy. So a popular Disney thing to do, and I'm sure this is toned down a little bit with COVID, but is when you walk into Disney, they give you something free. And the goal of that is to see how long it takes before you throw it out or drop it on the floor or leave it somewhere it's not supposed to be, so that they can increase their efficiency with garbage cans. And I know this has nothing to do with real estate, but they're trying to create you a better experience by saying, okay, if people walk in and 25 steps into the park, all they see is garbage everywhere because people drop the wrapper on the little Minnie Mouse shaped candy that we gave them. It's creating a bad experience right from the get-go. It was nice that we got free candy, and then we walked around and we saw garbage all over the place. So think about this in your real estate business as from the second that you start creating that first piece we talked about, what are you doing to create a memorable experience? So think about what your marketing looks like, right? I love the GIFs and the slides and GIFs or GIFs or whatever the heck they're called, and all the slides and all the stuff that we put out. Carrie does a great job of them, and they look nice. So to me, that's part of the experience. It looks nice. When you look at what other people do, or some of the creations or some of the content that other people do, maybe it doesn't look as nice. And to me, that's part of the overall experience, right? And when you're doing this with real estate, think about it. When you make a flyer, in Microsoft Word, and you just paint a red background and just put a picture on it, does it look great? Is it creating an experience that's memorable for that client that's looking at it, all the way from lead generation, all the way up through capture, right? When you capture their information, did they get something of value? Did your capture site say, once you put your information in, you're going to go to site A, but then it sent them to site B and they got confused? If so, creating a negative experience, right? When we connect with them, when we talk to them, are they excited and happy about that first phone call? Will they remember that? Did our realtor ask us great questions? Did our lender make us feel comfortable? When we're converting, do they feel like they were pressured to sell something or pressured to buy something, or did they feel like they were guided into the right choice, right? We're always creating that memorable experience all the way along the way. And as a bonus, number 7, are we creating a customer for life? So what are we doing that's helping us to create a customer for life? What experience are we actually creating in the conversion of these leads to do that? So is there something that you're doing to guarantee referrals along the process? There's a guy, I can't think of his name right now, but he does a thing called The Promise that they read off throughout the real estate transaction. And the summary of it, the guy is like in the middle of nowhere in the country. He sells like all the houses in that town. like literally all of them, like over 50% market share. It's nuts. And one of the things he does to guarantee referrals is he reads this promise. He says, listen, we're going to work throughout this step the whole way. I'll send this thing out to you guys because I know I'm going to butcher it, but it's really great. We're going to work through this whole process. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people involved. It's real estate and it's people. There's a chance that we might go wrong. All I ask is that along the way, every step of the way, we're going to ask you if there's something we can do to get better. And our end goal is that we get referrals. So he's prepping people the whole way through that he's going to get a referral. And he says at the end of the transaction, if you're not willing to give me a hug and pass other people on and we did something wrong, I want to know about it so we can make sure we correct that for anybody else that we work with in the future. So is there something throughout your process that you're doing to guarantee referrals? So when you first meet someone and you do a buyer consult or a listing appointment and they absolutely love you and they sign on the dotted line, that's probably the first time that we really need to ask for a referral. Because if they sign the listing agreement with you, they sign the buyer brokerage agreement with you, they decided they're going to work with you, however you run your business, they obviously are at the peak of liking you right then because they just signed something. So if they just signed something, that's a perfect time to ask, who else do you know thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, right? We need to be able to grab that along the way and make sure that we get a referral there. Are you getting reviews? So are you doing something that's guaranteeing that you get a review? I will tell you, we always used to think that, oh my God, we created such an amazing experience. We would bring them candy and soda and help them move and give them a moving truck and power wash their yard and do all this stuff that we're like, oh my God, there's no way we could not get a review. And then we get to the end of the transaction, we wouldn't get a review, and we'd call them, we'd say, what's up guys? Like, thought everything was perfect. They're like, oh my God, it was so amazing. We're like, great, could you just hop on here and give us a review? Yeah, sure, no problem. And they just never do it. And it's not because they're being malicious or they don't like you or something went bad. It's because the second people move into that new house, they now have a new house to deal with. And maybe they have a baby on the way or a marriage or a divorce or life or a job or whatever. The last thing they care about is doing reviews. So what are you doing to guarantee you reviews? Because that's going to create those customers for life. So what we learned, our system was we would bring a laptop or an iPad or whatever you're into using right to closing. And if the experience was good, we'd sit right next to them while we're waiting for that time when they do funding or paperwork or all the other fun stuff that we do that it takes some time to close and get a review right there. And obviously, if the transaction was horrible and you didn't like it, maybe you don't bring that laptop. And last, do you have a post-closing plan? Meaning after you close, do you have a plan? Just like earlier we talked about before, do you have a follow-up plan? It's great to have a follow-up plan when we're trying to make money, but once we've made that money, do we have a follow-up plan in place to be able to guarantee that those people are happy? So I can't tell you how many people, there's always crazy stats NAR puts out that, 80 something percent of people would use their realtor over again, but only 15 or 17% of them actually do. It's because we don't have a post-closing plan. Right? What if you had a home anniversary set up where if someone bought a house today, February 1st, next year on February 1st, you brought a rose to their house or you sent them a card or a gift card and just said, hey, congratulations on 1 year. Hope everything's going good. Here's a gift certificate to a cool, trendy local spot for dinner or for takeout, whatever with COVID. And here's a market report on what your home is worth now. Just want to show you. I know we sold you the house for $250 last year. Now it's worth $270. So on top of what you've paid down just by paying your payments, you've built $20,000 of equity. Congratulations. If you know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, let me know. Right? That's a plan that we have. Do we have an event once a year for all, or once a quarter maybe, for all of our clients that we've done business with that already like us and know us and are happy? Do we have a plan to show them that we care about them and we appreciate them? Maybe it's we rent out the local brewery or go to the baseball game or spring training or whatever it is, whatever you can do in the world with COVID right now. I know is sometimes tough, but what do we do to just show those people that we appreciate them every day? One of the things we're going to talk about next week is something to do with Facebook groups and using this piece in Facebook groups. So stay tuned for that next week. So in summary, I want to go back through these because I think it's important just to make sure you got them all. Number one, if we're trying to convert more leads, number one, we need to create. The foundation of this is creating more leads. Number two, we need to make sure we're capturing the correct information as often as possible. Number three, we need to connect with them as quickly and as often as we can across whatever platforms we can, whether it's text, call, email, message, whatever. Number four, cultivate. Are we following up with them? Do we have a plan in place to follow up with them? Number five, convert. Are our skills at the level that we need them to be? So are we scripting well? Are we doing appointments well? Are we closing them well? Are we saying the right things and doing the right things? If not, who can we get with to help us with those? And number 6, are we closing throughout the whole way? And number 7, the bonus at the end was, are we creating a customer for life? All right, if you want the replay, make sure you reach out. I will get this replay done today. Make sure you reach out to Melissa Kidwell, Dave Ward, Tracy Sender, Gab Bryce, or myself. For all of you that are already sending us deals, we surely appreciate it. Like I said, I know there's a couple of you on the call that we got deals from just last week, so we really appreciate that. If you're not yet and there's something that we can do to earn that business, let me know. We are open for business all over the state. So if you need anything at Trident Performance or Synergy, let us know what we can do to win that business. Kara, thanks as always for the slides, the GIFs, GIFs, whatever the heck they're called. They were awesome. I really love this font. Coming up Thursday, we are back in the helm with Paul Krasker. So we're doing Better Call Paul again for the entire month of February. We're sticking with digital stuff at least this month as we see what happens through COVID. And next Monday, same time, same place, 11 o'clock, we are doing a training on Facebook groups, how to work your database, how to build business, generate business free on Facebook through Facebook groups. So if you're not working Facebook groups at a high level, make sure you join us for that. That stuff will start going out with the links and everything this week. And everybody else, we will see you next time. If you do have any questions, I will hang for a couple minutes after this. And if not, I will get to work on the recording. So thanks all. Thank you for your business. Make it a great February, new month. Let's get them.
Ciao, Ryan. Thanks.